When I first graduated dental school, I hated dentistry. I actually thought about quitting numerous times, but cosmetic dentistry and composite in particular saved my dental career. And I want to make this video to explain to you why I think it's the best skill to learn clinically as a dentist. So yeah, cosmetic dentistry and in particular composite is something that I enjoyed doing. I remember doing it and time just flew by. The idea of transforming someone's smiles directly with my own hands was the only thing really that I enjoyed doing in dentistry. The first big benefit with composite and learning how to carry out aesthetic composite is the ability to express your artistic flair. This is probably not such a benefit for someone like me who's not really that into art. I was never into art. But when I speak to dentists who come to learn from me and I ask them, why is it that you want to learn about composite in particular? And quite commonly, the idea of them being able to express their artistic flair always comes up. And I think you can't really do that with anything else in dentistry apart from composite, because you're literally sculpting and building teeth directly with your own hands. So if you're artsy and you like to do things with your hands, which if you got into dental school, I'm sure there's a lot of you who do like to do that, then composite allows you to express that ability fully. The second thing with composite is, and this is one of the reasons why I love it, it's the amount of job satisfaction you can have. It's so rewarding, cosmetic dentistry in general. Transforming people's smiles, you can make a massive impact on patients' lives, and the amount of appreciation that you get from patients after transforming their smiles is way higher than doing a filling on them, for example. Then when you do composite, it's on another level in my opinion, because you know you've done that transformation directly with your own hands, and you see the before and after, and you see the massive transformation, and then that combined with how positive the patient is and how appreciative the patient is, it just makes your job so much more fulfilling, and I don't think I get that feeling from anything else apart from composite. The third thing I like about composite is the lack of reliance on labs or dental technicians. And again, I struggled a little bit doing porcelain and other things that involved technicians. I would find one that was good, but then there would be some inconsistencies, work wouldn't show up, the color match wouldn't be perfect, and I used to always be a little bit frustrated. And what it did is it knocked my confidence when I was communicating with patients about the treatments that I could offer, and I couldn't really offer it with that much confidence, especially compared to how much confidence I can offer composite with, because that's purely reliant on me. And I know that if I've mastered that skill, that I'm going to be able to do it, and therefore I can communicate that more confidently. Whereas if it was reliant on someone else, I would always be a little bit shy and a little bit less confident offering that treatment. Because it's fully reliant on you, if you can master the skill of being able to transform smiles with composite, you can get into a position now where if someone needs composite or they request composite, you can communicate the value of it with full confidence, and the patient can sense that confidence as well, and therefore they're more likely to go ahead with you and trust you and your abilities to carry out the treatment. The fourth thing is the fact that composite does not involve really any risk. It's quite a risk-free treatment, and it's great. It helps me sleep at night knowing that I'm not drilling teeth all of the time, especially healthy, nice teeth. And it just didn't sit right with me drilling sound teeth to make them look nicer. I know you can drill them very safely nowadays, and you can do minimal prep and all of that, but even the idea of just drilling natural healthy teeth just to make them look nicer just wasn't great. Starting out, because it's a non-invasive procedure, you can experiment a little bit more. There's not much that can go wrong, and because of that you can push outside of your comfort zone, and that's how you learn quickly as well. Whereas with porcelain or implants and stuff, there's loads of stuff can go wrong, and dentistry is very high pressured in general, especially starting out when you're learning a skill. I remember, and even this goes with composite, but I was just thinking, if the risks of composite going badly was a lot higher, then the amount of pressure that I would experience would be a lot higher, and maybe it would affect my sleep and I would just be more stressed. But the worst thing that can happen with composite is you take it off, or you get someone else to do it for you again. Obviously it's a bit embarrassing, it's not great, but you've not caused irreversible damage to the teeth, you've not put implants into their bone. And this idea of having minimal risk, sculpting material onto the patient's teeth without damaging them, was very appealing to me starting off, and I think it still is appealing to me now. Another big benefit of composite is how profitable the treatment is. Obviously, we're dentists, we want to look after the patient, we want to make sure that they're healthy and we're doing good treatment, but we also want to earn money. And composite is very, very profitable if it's done properly, if you're doing it in good, predictable ways, so you're not having redos, you're not having chips and things like that. There's no lab costs most of the time. There's very limited material costs, so the gross margins on the procedure are very, very high. If you've mastered how to do it and you're able to communicate that to your patients, you can carry out dentistry that you enjoy doing, that's very rewarding, whilst at the same time earning a lot of money. And the last benefit that I could think of, there's probably more, but this is the last benefit that I could think of with cosmetic dentistry, and in particular composite, but generally cosmetic dentistry as well, is, I don't think this is spoken about enough. When we make people's smiles better, we improve their confidence level, we improve the amount of pride that they have in their own smile. And what you find is that they're more inclined to look after their teeth a lot more as well. I genuinely believe that providing cosmetic dentistry promotes good oral health. Someone who's happy with their teeth is way more likely to brush, floss, come to the therapist. And composite bonding, safe, predictable, aesthetic dentistry, making people's smiles nicer, instilling that self-confidence in a very safe way, does promote good oral health. So that is a big advantage that I see with composite and generally cosmetic dentistry in general, but in particular composite. So I'm a big advocate for composite bonding, obviously. That's pretty much all I do. That's 90% of the treatment that I do is composite. But there are some disadvantages and things to look out for if you are wanting to try and get into it and master it and make it part of your clinical practice, a main part of your clinical practice. First of all, it's very competitive. Every dental practice does aesthetic composite, and so it can be quite hard to attract patients. It can be quite hard to charge proper prices. And what you have to do to be able to do this is you're going to have to get good at it. You're going to have to master the craft. You're going to have to go on courses and practice a lot. And I do think the Pareto principle applies with this, whereas 20% of the dentists are probably doing 80% of the composite cases because they have separated themselves. They've shown in their marketing how they can carry out composite in a very highly effective way. And nowadays, patients are becoming more aware of the different skill level. I think back maybe 5 years ago even, patients wouldn't really know that different dentists provide different skill level, but I think the knowledge is a little bit higher. They understand certain dentists are good at it, certain dentists aren't, and if you want to be busy and you want to charge the right prices and be profitable, then you need to get to that level where you're carrying out very good composite cases, and of course you need to be able to showcase that to the world. Another downside of composite is how difficult it is. It's very technique sensitive. It's probably one of the most difficult skills to do clinically and technically, and it can result in you having a lot of failure, a lot of embarrassment, and you have to be able to master the skills, and you have to be able to do it over a long period of time as well. All these little steps that you need to master need to be very meticulously done. This is a disadvantage, but also it can be an advantage as well because it's very difficult. If you can practice the skills, if you can learn how to do it, and you can get through how difficult it is, you can safely distinguish yourself from other dentists who aren't able to do that. And that goes back to how competitive the procedure is. Other things with the procedure is it can be quite high pressured. Even though there's no real risk with it, because you're creating the smile directly with your hands, if it goes wrong, there's nowhere to run, there's no one to blame. You can't blame your nurse for it. Unlike if you're doing porcelain, for example, you can kind of partly blame the lab, but the patient knows you've just spent the last few hours doing their teeth directly, and if it doesn't go well, then unfortunately you've got to take the blame for that, and that can be quite hard. It can be quite embarrassing. I remember loads of times when I was showing the patient a mirror, and it still sometimes happens to this day, where the patient's just not happy, and it can be quite not pleasant. And that was actually one of the reasons why I committed to learning this skill and trying to master it, so that I didn't have to go down that situation where I give the patient a mirror and I'm very scared to see what their reaction is. And if you can easily get to that point just through practice, learning the workflows, practicing the workflows, and then you can get to a point where you can be very confident where you show your patient after you've done their smiling composite. But yeah, there are some disadvantages to it, but don't let that put you off. I think the advantages certainly outweigh the disadvantages. The key distinguishing factor here is if you want to take advantage of all the positives like the increased job satisfaction, like how profitable it is. And if you want to mitigate the downsides, like how competitive it is, then you just need to master the craft. And like any skill, it will take time, it will take a lot of failure, but if you can learn workflows that are very predictable and you're able to repeat that over time, then you can get to a point where you can always, 99% of the time, impress your patients directly with your hands, and like I said, have a skill that is highly sought after. So if you're a young dentist, I definitely recommend getting into composite, and I hope this video provided information on why. And if you don't feel motivated, maybe message me on Instagram at Gopinder Lalia, and I can go into it in a lot more detail.